Okay, we'll go ahead and get started this morning. So I'm going to call to order the March 18th, 2025 RDC meeting. We'll take roll call. Deb Gill.
Present.
Josh Prine.
Here.
Paul Buning.
Here.
BJ Deppie.
Here.
We have a quorum. So we'll look at minutes from February 18th, 2025. I hope all of you have had a chance to look at them. Does anybody have any questions or revisions?
Move
If-
to approve.
Move to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Approval of claims. I saw that Krista sent those out.
Yes.
Yep.
There was just one, I think we didn't have any at the last meeting because there was just one, and then I got 3 more yesterday, actually. So I went ahead and sent all of those. But yeah, you have those, and those are ready for your approval.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that? Motion to accept?
Yes.
Or do- Yeah. So I entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Is that the only one I missed?
BJ, did you second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. So there is no old business. Takes us to new business. Agreement for legal services.
So, this is just an update to keep in line our hourly rate with the rest of the boards and commissions for the city. So this is something that Lynn Gray had proposed. We have various attorneys for many different boards and commissions, and the hourly rate had not been updated for a number of years. So that was increased to $210 per hour, which is still fairly low for an hourly rate. But we do appreciate that. We have attorneys that will work with us for that to help our cause. And we wanted to keep that in line with the other boards and commissions. This is the only attorney that isn't paid out of the general fund law department, I guess, mainly because we have a revenue stream of our own. So,
Okay.
yeah, so this is for your review and approval.
Okay. So I know Krista sent it out a couple weeks ago to kind of give us a heads up. And then looking at the agreement today, does anyone have any questions? No? I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 2025-12, $1,009,200 for the purchase of land for the Scott Park project.
So this is just a follow-up to the agreement to purchase. So that was approved previously. Sorry, I have all the papers going up here. That was approved previously, but it wasn't specific. It was just basically gave permission to negotiate the price, kind of back and forth. And so this resolution actually appropriates the funds needed for the closing, which has been set for March 25th. So that is coming up soon. And Ellen, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add to that? Nope.
Okay. Pretty simple. Any further questions? Comments?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. So that takes us to Resolution 2025-13, $78,000 for design services for the Commerce Drive Traffic Signal Project.
I'm going to let Matt handle this one.
Matt McElroy, Assistant City Engineer. Yeah, this resolution is for design services for the Commerce signal there at the Mire. This project was basically install a signal and add a turn lane. It's kind of in partnership with the development that's going on the north side, which involves the big Chick-fil-A proposed and all that stuff. So this resolution is just for the design services to get the signal designed.
We do have this, I'll cover this a little bit later, under our cash flow, we have up to $800,000 for the total project amount if we need it. So that's been on your cash flow for several months now. So this is, like Matt said, just the beginning stages. There will be more expenses related to this.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it, was with Crossroad Engineers is the professional service agreement, so. to do
Yes.
the design services.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that takes us to our Franklin Development Corporation update.
So I'm kind of playing two roles today for that. I do have a couple of board members in the audience. So Dustin Royer is on our board, Amy Richardson, and Lisa Jones. We also have other board members, David Bedwell, Tina Gross, Amy Hacker, and Amanda Ott. So they were not able to be here today, but thank you all for joining us. I did want to just kind of cover a couple quick, informational things, just to give you kind of an update. We haven't been to the RDC for a while, and just wanted to kind of give you some numbers and some information. So I will get started with that, and then any of the board members, if you want to jump in at any time, please feel free. And then we'll just open it kind of for some question and answers. I would love it if this was the 2024 annual report, but I'll be honest, we just finished the 23 report in February, so I'm working on the 24 report. We will have that soon, and once this is, there's still some minor changes to this one, we'll get this printed and get this out to you all, and it'll be on our website as well. But just kind of a highlight of our residential program, so you can see there that we helped 5 different homeowners, and those were the amounts. And just a reminder that the residential program has a combination of grant and loan. And so depending on your income, it's kind of a sliding scale. It can be anywhere from 50% grant, 50% loan to 100% grant. And you do have to be at or below median household income to qualify for that program. We did a couple of commercial loans. You'll see down here, this is the former insurance turned still insurance, and Moxie Salon, which was in there. But that's a big transformation for that building. So they use both the facade grant and the low interest loan program. So that was a great project for us and for them. And then the roasting room, if you've been in Coffee House 5, they did the build out for that roasting room, just to kind of bring attention to the fact that they roast all of their own beans on site. So that was another project, and those will both be repaid in full over 7 years. And then the facade matching grant, you might recognize a couple of these. Again, the matching grant here, Franklin Jewelers, Pipestone, so they own where Possibilities is on the corner of Water and Jefferson. They own those first 2 storefronts, and then they have apartments upstairs, so they made some improvements to that side entrance and the awnings there as well. And then Franklin Heritage, that was for the brick tuck pointing that was done there. 650 Hurricane Street was completed in 2023. So I don't know if you remember, this was the lovely before down here in the right-hand corner. What you could kind of reminded me of like the 3 Little Pigs, where you could huff and puff and blow the house down, because you pretty much could. Had no foundation, which unfortunately we found out the hard way. So we were really pleased with how this turned out, and there's a nice young couple living there. And just some other highlights. Residential program, we did increase it from 20,000 to 25,000. We actually increased it at the end of last year to 35,000, just with the cost of construction and everything. We were not able to do a whole lot to a home with 25,000. So we were consistently getting requests for additional funding just to finish, a couple basic projects at each residence. And so we went ahead and increased that. We did take proposals for IOZOs in 2023, and so happy to report that, that's finally open and doing wonderful. We did receive some additional funds from EDIT for the 650 Hurricane Street project. Once we found out that there was no foundation, we actually had some extra costs there of demo and then foundation work. So appreciated the help on that. We were invited to give a presentation at the Indiana Landmarks Conference, Preserving Historic Places in Muncie. So it was kind of funny. Rob was there. He gave a presentation on the salvage shop with Danny, but Muncie, we kind of shared the whole session with Muncie, and we were in Muncie, so that was great. And they got up and they did a wonderful job, and they had done, I think, 10 really spectacular buildings. And then I got up and we had done 100. And it was kind of funny. Lots of questions, and the director of Muncie was like, I guess I need to come visit you because I had no idea. So that was really nice. And we've gotten a lot of phone calls of other communities trying to kind of replicate our process as well. So that was nice. At the end of 2023, we had $821,000 of total program funds available. So I will bring that up later because of kind of where we're at now at the beginning of 25. Any questions on that? This is our total board of directors, staff, and legal counsel in 2023. And there really haven't been any changes to that. Okay, so moving on to I thought it would be helpful because I honestly wasn't even sure. I can't believe that I've actually been doing this since 2014. Time flies, I guess, when you're having fun. So I really wasn't even sure what the funding had been over the years for the Franklin Development Corporation. So just thought it would be good to have kind of a refresher. The original initial program funding in 2010, which was now 15 years ago, was for $5 million, and that was used for various things, a lot of larger direct investment projects and those kinds of things. And then in 2015, the goal of this, we called it FDC 2.0, was to make ourselves self-sustaining. So that year, we did request $50,000 in operating expenses to pay for. We have legal fees, and we're audited every year, tax returns, that kind of stuff. But since then, we have never come back to the city council for any operating funds. So I just think that's a really important. We have become self-sustaining in that regard. But as far as programming funds, when you're giving out grants, there's not really a way to be self-sustaining if you're giving out grants. And so there has been $1.7 million over the last 10 years. So our last funding for the FDC was in 2020, and that was $300,000. And so you can see there, so if you average that out, that's only $170,000 a year. Now, I will say that there was still some balance of that original $5 million. I would say probably half of that we also inherited with that, that kind of figured into that number as well. It wasn't like all of those funds had been expended when, so that's a little bit, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, kind of what our funding has been over the years. And then I just threw, this is kind of just a quick little fact sheet. So I don't know if any of you look at the community guide the Chamber of Commerce puts out each year. There's all kinds of information in there for, businesses that are interested in locating to Franklin, or maybe new residential people that are moving here. But I put this together for them, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So our residential repair program, so this is since 2010, there have been 65 residential projects. We've spent $1.3 million on those. Of that $1.3 million, $539 has been grant dollars, and $807 has been repaid for the residential program. The commercial facade matching grant program, we've done 107 projects to date, and that has been a $2.287 million investment. And also just wanted to point out that does require a 1-for-1 match from property owners. And so that has been matched at minimum in that amount, but I will say a lot of projects go above what our maximum is for a project, and so I would say it's easily 2 times that in private investment in our downtown, so I think that's why there's been such a noticeable difference in so many facades in the last 15 years. Commercial revolving loan program, a lot of times this was used for a match on the facade grants or for things that aren't eligible for the facade grant program, so that would be roofs or any kind of interior type projects like plumbing or electrical, those kinds of things. So 42 projects in the commercial revolving loan program. Just over $2 million has been loaned out, 1.2 has been repaid, and then we have just under $500,000 in repayment. I will say, we have had an amazing success with repayment of our loans. Our loans are not a typical lien mortgage on a property, they're personal guarantees. And we did have one residential one that went into bankruptcy, but we were able to recollect through the bankruptcy process. And then we had one commercial one. If anybody remembers the Indigo Duck, that was one of our projects as well, and unfortunately he passed away about midway through repayment, and so those are the two that basically half of one has not been repaid. So that's a pretty good track record for that many loans. And then direct investments, these are projects that we've partnered with the Redevelopment Commission on for specific like economic development incentives, kind of as a grant agreement, or the individual properties. So we're on our 4th home that we've purchased or gotten at tax sale and remodeled. So all of that is lumped in here under direct investments. And so there's been 51 of those projects and 7.6 million invested there. Questions on any of those?
Krista? Looking at the commercial loan program, it says, and these are rounding the numbers, 2 million loaned out, 1.2 million repaid, 497,000 in repayment, but is there some that does not get repaid because?
Not typically, but there were a few specific projects, like there were a couple that we actually made forgivable loans if they met certain criteria on some of the kind of really early projects like the Hazelette and Garment Factory and those kinds of things. So that makes up that difference.
It looked like the kind of math error I would make.
Yeah, no, I was going to explain that and I forgot, so I'm glad you asked. Yes, because I looked at that too and I was like, well, that doesn't add up. Somebody's probably going to ask about that. So yes, that is why that looks that way. All right. I did go ahead and include our January financial report. I won't go through all of this, but this, in case you wanted to look at it, this gives you every project that's ever been done, the amount that's been granted. Sometimes they don't use the full amount that's been granted, so there's like an approved amount, and then there's an actual amount. It also gives you just a rundown of what our account balances are, just to kind of give you an idea. We do spread our program funds around, so we have our facade grant, and our money market is at First Merchants. Horizon has our revolving loan program, and our we call it interest income. That's what we do our direct investment houses out of, that we purchase and renovate and sell. And then our operating is at Mutual, and our request for proposals and direct investment checking is also at Mutual. Accounts receivable, like I said, the 345,000, and then you can kind of see some of these are just other projects that are in progress as well. We do our budget. This is our actual budget for just operating alone, so this doesn't include any of the programs. So this is basically taxes, utilities, that kind of thing, printing, kind of the basic stuff. We have QuickBooks and our website, and we run credit reports, and kind of all that stuff that we do is listed there. So that shows you that. And then I'll just give you a quick rundown on kind of how these reports are situated. These are, this first page, the green, is the residential. And so you can see here the amount that was drawn, if there's a grant amount and then the amount remaining to be paid back or the amount that has been paid back. And so I update that each month. Horizon Services are loans for us. And so they send out all the monthly invoices. We pay them $5 per loan per month to do that. It's a great deal for me. So appreciate that very much. And then we enter those each month, and so that you can see here what's been approved. These are our projects that are in process right now. So we have four residential projects that are in process there at the bottom. And then the same thing for the commercial loan. We do have, the IOZO's loan is nearly completed, and then we just approved a commercial loan for the new location for Bud and Bloom in downtown on Jackson Street. We have those two there. And then the facade grants. There's a lot more of these because they are grants. These are the latest ones that have just been approved at the bottom. So these are in progress here. You can see those. And then the direct investment. So like I said, some of these pass-throughs for things, the fire suppression system is listed here. This is 548 West King Street, so we did that. That's another one of the houses that we did in 2022. And then there was a grant also for the Bicentennial Alley that we did. And then there's Circle Drive and Hurricane Street, and then Overstreet Street. The reason these are broken out differently is because these are outside the TIF area, so we aren't able to use redevelopment commission funding for these projects. We've had to find other funding streams and funding sources for those. So that's why those are separate. Those are kept in a separate bank account as well. So this brings me to kind of the last page here. This is basically the summary of kind of where we're at funding-wise. So the committed amounts that are remaining versus what our account balances are. You see some negative numbers here just because we keep the majority of our money in a money market account, just because it's earning interest, a lot more interest than it would be in the bank accounts. And so I'm transferring money sometimes monthly to cover when projects are approved and those types of things. But as you'll see at the bottom, technically, we have a negative $26,982 in program funds available. So when I ran these numbers, I hadn't received the second installment, the $76,000 from the Redevelopment Commission for IOZOs, and that was already listed on there, so it was kind of counting double. So I added that back in, and then if we needed, which I don't think we will, we had calculated about $22,000 in edit funds for Overstreet Street. I don't think we'll need those, so that would put us at about a little under $50,000 in program funds available. So we said we wouldn't ask for money until we were out, and we are officially out. So I think we've done a great job with the funds that have been received over the years. We are also working with a group of students through Franklin College. They're doing a really cool, I don't know if you remember, it was back in 2020, 2021. We had a college intern that they studied every parcel in the integrated TIF that had Franklin Development Corporation dollars spent, and they did a comparison of assessed value before and assessed value after. And if you remember, the return was like 15 times the investment of FDC dollars. So it's been 5 years, and assessed values have changed once again. So we have a whole team of people working, and they're not just doing specific areas; they're doing every project that we've ever put money into. So that's quite an undertaking. They've just started that, but by the end of the school year, we should have that report. So you will probably get a presentation from them about that. And I'd also like for them to do that at the Franklin Development Corporation Board, and then also at City Council. So that's kind of a fun one. We've also been in talks. We've wanted for a long time to have a kind of interactive map on our website that you can click on a parcel and it'll show you a before and an after. and, like a brief summary of what the project was. And so we finally have found someone that we think can do that for us with some software we need to purchase. And I think we're going to do that this year, kind of as a contract for services type deal. I'm really excited about that. And then also, we get a lot of phone calls because the area of eligibility is super hard to distinguish on a map, because it's like if a property touches a right-of-way, or if it, so sometimes there's a lot of confusion if there's an alley or if there's a corner or those kinds of things. And so we're also going to try to work with that person to do a kind of an interactive map of, you can click on a parcel and it'll tell you if it's eligible or not for funding. So I think that'll be really cool. I'm excited about those two projects coming up. I am working with about 3 potential applicants, so we are going to have some new requests here, I would say, within the next month or so. And I think what we wanted to do today, and any of the board members, feel free to chime in, but we kind of wanted to just get a feel today for what you all would be comfortable with as far as a funding request. And also, how often do you want us requesting funds? Would you prefer yearly or every other year? Or, those are the kind of questions and discussions I think we were hoping to have today. And Lisa and Amy and Dustin, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, or. Yeah.
So Amy Richardson, and I would be wearing a different hat too from FDC. As you know, I'm one of the founders of Main and Madison Market Cafe. And I get asked a lot when I'm outside of Franklin, what makes Franklin so great? And you all hear me say, it's that everybody works together. It's that all the cogs are turning in the right direction. But I would say, so you may have seen my name on one of the lines there for the facade matching grant. And we've been the beneficiary of 2 different programs with the FDC. The first being the facade matching grant, so I guess I can talk to that really easily. At the time, it was a $25,000 match, and it had to be you had to have the street-facing facade. Fortunately, we sat at a corner, and so we had 2 street-facing facades. So our organization got $50,000 from the FDC, and we in turn matched it. But I would be willing to say, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, Main and Madison wouldn't be the cool place that it is had we not had that and been able to not spend as much on the outside. We got to spend some really cool money on the inside too. And so speaking to that, I think that as the Redevelopment Commission, you guys, that it's in your name to redevelop our city and to help keep it growing. I look at Iozo's, I was there last night, it's booming. And that's a direct investment in our community from you guys too. So I guess I would just say, when I'm asked what makes Franklin work so well, it's you guys too. So thank you for what you've done in the past. And big thanks, I think, to Krista too. Because Krista is the one that keeps this ball rolling. And I know it's not easy to sit up there and wear the different hats and still say, what are you comfortable, giving? That's a kind of an awkward position, I know, for her. But thank you to her for being that advocate for Franklin as she is, and thank you to all of you.
So Krista, let me ask you this. What would it take, or what do you think you would need on a yearly basis, whether we grant it on an annual basis or every other year, but on a yearly basis, what do you think it needs?
I did try to kind of average that out. And I mentioned before, at the end of 2023, we had a balance of $821,000. Last year was really busy because, we're 3 months into 2025 and we have $50,000 left. So we did $800,000 worth of projects last year. That is probably not the normal, I would say. And part of that is also the 650 Overstreet, the house. And that is, I think, 250,000 of that. And so if you kind of take that out, but that's still money being vested into the community each year. And so we've talked about it. We do have a lot of, we still get a lot of applications. We do turn down applications. Anne is on our loan and grant committee, so she can speak to that as well if it's not a super competitive application, if it's just kind of maintenance stuff. We don't really do those as much anymore. We really want those kind of transformational projects. And believe it or not, I know 107 facade grants seems like a lot, but that I would say that's maybe 30% of the downtown. So we're not nearly there yet. And then also this year, we kind of made a rule, because we've been around now for 15 years, that we've got people coming back and asking for funds to repair things after 15 years and maybe redesign things. And so we kind of made a rule that if it's been 10 years, you're eligible for funding again. And these buildings are going to continue to need maintenance, and we want to keep them looking historically appropriate. So I think that's a great rule to follow as well. I would say, we could probably get by with 300,000 a year. 400,000 would be more comfortable. 500,000 would be great. I think in that ballpark, we've all kind of talked about that as a board. And just depending on, how proactive we want to be and those types of things, so.
Thoughts from anyone else? Josh?
And I don't know too, if there's, we would still really like to have a funding source outside of that TIF area. So if there's something, some kind of combination that we could work out with, grant funding elsewhere or different kinds of funds, and less funding from the RDC, we're open to any of those kind of suggestions as well.
Anyone? No? Okay. Well, yep, Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here today. I'd be real careful around $500,000. I'm closer to myself, what I see, $200,000 to $300,000 a year. But the FDC can always bring back to the board like an IOZO's project for special funding. So I think we want to be careful with getting above 300, and 300 may be stretching it. And here's why I say that. The FDC has obviously done great stuff for the city. The city wouldn't be what it is today without the FDC. But when there's free money, you're going to get all kinds of people asking for free money. And if it's available, it's going to be hard to turn people down. So I would be real careful on how much we go. I do believe that the FDC needs to be funded because it is an asset for the city. But it's your decision, but I personally wouldn't want to go over the $300,000. And I think, Krista, you and I have talked about that a little bit.
We have, yep.
Yeah, so that's just my opinion. So thank you for that.
And that would be too, like Steve said, I think that's really important. If we have a specific project, I feel like that really helps with the communication between the Redevelopment Commission and the FDC. If we bring you specific projects that don't meet maybe one of our standard programs, as long as you're still open to that and kind of reviewing those on a case-by-case basis, I think that's really important to still have that flexibility as well, kind of as situations arise. Like, we can't predict those, who's going to sell, or if there's going to be a, wind damage or tornado, or, you just never know what's going to happen. And we've used FDC funds for several kind of unforeseen types of projects. I feel like a lot of the big catalyst projects, like the garment factory and the Hazelette and now IOZO's and some of the larger buildings, a lot of those have been done now. So our funding amounts are not the huge amounts that they were in the beginning. They're more smaller incentives, but it is a huge plus for me as kind of the economic development department for the city to have these programs when we're talking to small businesses about locating here. I know I've heard many times that they wouldn't have looked at Franklin, especially in the early days, if we didn't have these types of incentives available. So it's a great tool to have in the toolbox. So I'll put my RDC hat back on and say that basically wanted to have this conversation with you today so that we would know if there was a willingness to advertise for a resolution for the next month's meeting, and at what amount would you be comfortable with?
Yeah, I think we're all comfortable with that. It's just, I'm comfortable between 3 and 4, based on what the mayor's saying, maybe 3 for the year, and then we maybe reevaluate next year.
I'm good with 300.
300? Josh?
Yeah, 3.
Okay,
Great,
yeah.
okay. I'll have Ellen prepare the resolution then.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Krista. All right, so that takes us to Johnson Avenue Sidewalk Project introduction.
Okay, so the FDC did a good job. Now it's my turn to ask. So as you know, we have, in the last 10 years, been trying to pave or touch every alley in the city of Franklin, and we completed that last year. And now I want to move on to trying to do better with our sidewalks, and we have an opportunity at Johnson Avenue where we have done a lot of work in that area, paving all the streets, most of the streets. We still have a few in that whole end of town to bring back to life. We've paved all the alleys there. We have, and you've heard me talk about this before, we have had several drug roundups, and we have cleaned up the area tremendously. The FDC is transformed 2, maybe 3 houses in that area. I know that Habitat for Humanity is getting ready to build a house on a lot that's a pretty nice looking house that fits right in. So long story short, we have an opportunity to do sidewalks down Johnson Avenue where the RDC can help. Krista told me they can actually help with all of it, but I would rather be partners in it. Like I've always said, we need to partner up. So one side would be the RDC we're asking to pay for. The other side, the Board of Works will pay for, and it's like $250,000 would probably be what it is. Matt has done some estimates, $250,000 on each side. But my goal is this year to do the $450,000 project and split it with the RDC and the Board of Works, and then next year, depending on how the property tax bill turns out, trying to continue on with $300,000 a year of doing sidewalks in this area and other areas that are desperate for need, like on the north end of town. So I know we've done a lot of work in our major downtown, some of the off streets here, but there's other areas that are probably lower income that need some help, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of that. So the ask today is, could we do a resolution for $250,000 for help on the Johnson Avenue sidewalk project? So that's the ask I have today. Any questions?
You need a written resolution, or?
Well, I think we just need to advertise for the next meeting to be able to do that. And I will tell you too, there's been homes on Johnson Avenue that's been remodeled. We've had 3 homes, 2 of them on Johnson Avenue that were scrap yards. We've taken them to court. We're getting that cleaned up. And our goal is not to make it worse on people that need help. It's actually to try to lift the neighborhood back up to where it needs to be. And kids, there's a park over there. I see kids walking out in the street to get to the park. There's plenty of room for the sidewalks to be updated, cars to park between the street and the sidewalk be used. So I just feel like we did on Yandee Street, you've seen how we transformed Yandee Street, really helped bring that area back. And I think this was going to help in Johnson Avenue and that whole area. So we all know over the years the reputation that Johnson Avenue has had, and we're sitting here talking about spending $500,000 there, but I really think it is needed in that area. So
There's even an Airbnb on Johnson.
Yeah, there's
Avenue.
Airbnb and
nice.
I've talked to that,
I've seen it.
yeah, and I've talked to that gentleman. He's talking about trying to buy other homes and fix them up and so with everything that we've done in the city, talking about us, the FDC, the RDC, now we're getting to these areas that we're starting to bring back, so.
I probably should know this, but is there kind of, do you have like I know you have like the Paiser rating for streets. Do we have the same thing for sidewalks, or do you have like a priority list of?
We don't, I don't think we have started that yet, but we've talked about that at the
Okay.
Board of Works of, every street that gets paved, we have an outside firm that rates the streets. And we've talked about trying to do that with sidewalks, so we can do so much a year. But whenever it's pretty obvious, you can look at certain places and there's no sidewalk that used to be there. So that would be there's so many that would fall into that category of immediate, but there's not enough funding to do them all. But it's, I don't think the sidewalks have been neglected. It just takes a lot of money out of the property taxes to do that. And we do have programs where homeowners can pay half and we'll do the half. And that's worked out well too. So a lot of the sidewalks that we see getting fixed around town is homeowners that's participated in that program. And we're going to continue with that program as well. But as we know, in some of these areas, the folks can't afford to participate in that. So some can, some can't.
So, what are the thoughts? You good with approving a resolution, having Ellen approve it? Or, excuse me, prepare it for next, and
Need a motion?
Not yet, just
Not yet.
consensus, and then it'll be back next month.
then we can,
Okay, that's what
okay, 250,000?
Yeah, that's the estimate. Matt's already did the engineering estimate. It's really a little bit under that. It's about 220, 230, but we all know how change orders seem to come about, so I think that would be comfortable there.
Okay. All right. So Ellen, you can get that ready for next month? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the FDC on the project that you're doing, and it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So other business, February 25 financial reports. Back to Krista.
You're just gonna be tired of hearing from me today. We do have the February financials, just to give you a quick rundown on those. Let's see, okay, so, beginning of the year, totals there, and then the estimated, we do have the 2 million on hand from Malarkey, so I went ahead and put that under receipts, and then I just updated the, each resolution that had been, that's had any kind of expenditures in there. We didn't have any new ones to add. I will add the Scott Park one now that's been approved, and the, design services for, Commerce Drive. But year-to-date expenditures, a lot of that is our loan payment, or our bond payment, but 943,000, and then remaining appropriations on nearly 5 million, so estimated cash balance of 5.4 at the end of the year. That's for the integrated TIF, and then the US 31, kind of same thing. There really hasn't been much movement here. We did have one, I think, final bill for the US 31, some of that redesign that we had allocated. I don't know that we'll spend the rest of that. So expenditures through the end of February, 297, and then cash balance, 1,235,000, remaining appropriations, so 915 at the end of the year.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Cash flow analysis, so I did change some things on here, so I'll just highlight those for you. A lot of those were projects that we had discussed, and I moved those up to, we did have the owner occupied rehab grant match, so I moved that up. We should find out this month if that's approved or not, so I haven't invoiced the RDC for that yet, just because it doesn't make sense to transfer the money to the FDC if we don't get the grant. So I won't do that until we find out for sure. So fingers crossed on that. And just a couple little things down here. So the Commerce Drive stoplight design is there listed. I probably should have subtracted that from that 800,000, so I can change that. Wasn't sure what to put here, so I'll go ahead and add that to approved projects for the FDC. And this US 31 is a little bit higher, but those are coming out of edit funds, so that doesn't really affect our cash flow either. So still looking, I mean, if you look at a lot of these, $50 million in projects. So I know the introduction for the bond for the sewer treatment plant was last night. So that's kind of moving along as well, but I will add the Johnson Avenue. I know those are on here. I will add that and move that up as well. So that's basically where we're at. Even if we have on here, we have the full Commerce Drive stoplight and the Scott Park property. We're still looking at a balance of just over 3 million with those projects. So I'll have those financials updated for you with those new projects next month.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Krista? Okay, thank you. So that takes us to public comment announcements. Mayor, do you have anything?
I just want to give a little bit of an update on Scott Park, the plans from there, because I've been asked. I think closing is the 25th, is that right, Krista?
Yes.
Okay, and then after that, what I'd like to do is get with Crossroad Engineers and get Sean Taylor off of City Council, Chip, Krista, and myself, and a person off the RDC, and we get together because we will need some RDC help whenever we move forward, and especially with immediate would be the engineering process. So I think that it would be good to get this committee together and start talking about what is it going to look like, what do we really need, and what can we afford. So that's the update I would have on Scott Park. Just be thinking about who you'd want to put on the committee to meet and with Sean and Crossroad and start talking about it. So, and this year we also we just received a $1.5 million community crossings grant, so we matched that. That will be $300 million worth, or $3 million worth of paving this year. Plus, we received a $609,000 grant from last year that we didn't get finished. So we're going to do about $4.2 million worth of paving in Franklin this year. So it's going to be really noticeable. Looking forward to getting that going. That's probably about $1 million more than we've done in the past. So it's just the way the grant cycles have worked out. So that's about all the updates I got. Any questions?
No, guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. You all good, BJ?
Just being clumsy, got to keep in practice.
Rob, you have anything?
Just some updates on traffic and all of this kind of stuff at the artifact. Last week, we had a field trip every single day, and we had a concert with New Tomato on Thursday night. We had 3 movies, and then another concert on Sunday. And we had a couple of author events. Yeah, basically, every single day has got at least 1 or 2 things going on. So if you see the lights on at Wild Geese, at Main and Madison, and all of that, that's one.
That's awesome. I think that's fantastic. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Okay. Anyone have anything else for today? Okay.